Now, before going to the topic, let us find out what Swiflearn is. As you already know by now, that Swiflearn is the India's most sincere learning destination for classes 1 to 10. तो इधर का classes जो भी होता है in Swiflearn, all of them are 100% live and interactive classes. So over here, you can ask in the classes whatever type of doubt you have in your mind regarding the topic and any sort of confusion if you have to the teacher, and the teacher will explain everything in the classes only. Fine. Secondly, we give personalized attention to each and every students because our students like our batches consist of maximum 6 students. Hi Abhay, hi Anubhav, how are you beta? Okay. Yes, it's the flower chapter. Okay. Chalo. So, as you already know that our batches consist of maximum 6 students, so that is why we can give the personalized attention to all the students. If you have any sort of doubt, you can ask me. There will be no chaos at all in the class, and it will be very easily like we can communicate with each other, right? Okay. Now coming to the third thing, the third feature which we have, it is the dedicated academic mentor team we have who continuously track on the students' progress. So how you are doing in the class work, how you were performing in the class, how you were doing in the homework, whether you are doing the homework properly or not. Hi Anil, how are you? Okay, great. So I can see that all of you are joining my classes. So stay till the end and we will study a lot of different types of thing and lot of information is going to come in front of you. Yes, Prakash, how are you? Hi. Okay. So this academic mentor team keep track on your progress and however you are doing in the homework, however you are performing in the classwork, everything, all this feedback will go to you and you will improve yourself accordingly. Fine. Hi Anubhav beta, how are you? Yes beta, I'm fine Anil. Okay. Now coming to the fourth feature, that is the cover of the syllabus. So before going to the school examination, you have to go through all the whatever is there in your syllabus, right? So you can tell us that these are the topics which are there, which are coming in your exam. So accordingly, we will do those topics first and then we will move on to the rest of the topics. Fine. So we covered the syllabus as per your school examination schedule and the board examination. Okay. Yes, Anubhav, beta, I'm fine. Okay, chalo. So let us see what are our key features now. So those were the general features which we always see in the class. Now coming to the key features. So the first one is we maintain a detailed progress report and accordingly we will provide it to you. There will be PTM. जैसे school में भी PTM होता है, parent teacher meeting. Same thing will happen in Swiflearn also, and your parent can ask any sort of doubt if they have any sort of feedback if they have, and definitely we will also give the feedback to all of you so that you can improve yourself, right, and you can score better. Now, coming to the second thing, that is the Swiflearn Academic Test Series, in short, which we call as the SATs, which happen every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And you will be able to perform over there. It is a sort of Olympiad type of test, and you will be able to understand what is your rank. The rank will be given in our leaderboard. The what is the rank of what is your rank like all over India. Fine, you will come to know. Okay. Hi, Shivansh. How are you? After a long we are meeting. Yes. Hi, Abhay beta. Okay. Chalo. So now coming to the third most important thing, that is the practice. That you already know that the practice makes a person perfect, right? So you have to practice the question and answer again and again after completing each and every topic, and that is why you have to go through the practice test. We have a lot of practice tests, unlimited practice test. So after completing each and every topic, you can choose those test, you can do perform over there. There will be the different types of question, like both the subjective and objective type of questions will be there. In objective, definitely you will find like filling the blanks, MCQs, true and false, match the column. These are the different types of question you will get. So you will be able to practice all those things again and again, and it will help you to like clear all the different types of concepts, whatever is related with the topic, right? Yes, my session is going on parallelly in 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, Shivansh. So you can also find the 7th session. Okay. Okay. Yes, beta. I'm always there to teach you. You want to study with me? Fine. Great. Okay. Now coming to the subjective test. That is also very important, beta. Why? Because always remember that you already know the concept, but you sometimes lag over there that what is to be included within the answer according to their marks, right? So the subjective question actually have the 4 marks, 3 marks, or 5 mark type of question. So uh, definitely there should be the key concepts, the key points should be included within your answer, as well as there are sometimes you have to include the diagram, you have to include the uh, chemical equations. Okay, so these are the different things which you have to include in the subjective answer, and then only you will get the full marks, right? So that is very important. So we have a group of teacher who will always give you how to, who will always tell you how to write down the answers, the subjective question answers, and accordingly you will practice and improve yourself, and you will never lose any marks in your board exam or school exam, right? So these are the different things. So what you have to do, you have to book a free trial class and experience all these features. All the trial classes are free of cost, so book it now. And as you already know, admission is going on for the new session, so enroll with us, and we will again meet in the y- yes, we will again meet in the regular classes of Swiflearn. Fine. Yes, Abhay, what do you want to ask? I cannot understand your question. Swiflearn की ऐप है मैम? यस बेटा, ऐप तो है स्विफ्टलर्न का. You have to download that app, and then you can book the free trial class. ठीक है ना बेटा? Okay, chalo. So over here you can see that whoever has I already know most of you have already subscribed our channel. Whoever has not subscribed it, please subscribe it and press the bell icon so that you will never miss any of the update of the upcoming sessions. So continuously our sessions are going on. You will come to know about the session, and you can also chat with us. You can also ask whatever doubt you have regarding the topic in the sessions only. Fine. So stay with Swiftlon, stay till the end of the session, and as you already know, whoever will give me most of the answers correctly, he or she will be the student of the session, and his or her name I will write it on the screen at the end of the session. Fine. So stay with us and don't forget to like, comment, and share. Chalo. So we have already started with the flower chapter in the previous session, right? Yes, subscribers are increasing very fast. Yes, but yes. So I think you are also one of them. Okay. Yes, so we will continue with the flower chapter. So, flower we have already studied in the previous session. We have already discussed a lot of different types of features about the flower. What are the different types of the flower? What are the different parts of the flower? Do you remember what are the different parts? Anybody, can you tell me what are the different parts of the flower? There are four main parts of the flower which today we will study in detail. ठीक है? तो कोई बोल सकते हो क्या 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 मेन फोर पार्ट्स ऑफ द फ्लावर है? We have already discussed in previous session. Yes, yesterday we have discussed it. Anybody? Yes, Anil, I think Anil was there in throughout the session yesterday, and he was the student of the session, remember? Yes, stamen, very good. Any other names? What are the other parts of the flower? Yes, let me see who will be the student of the session in today's session. Pistil, very good. Petal, beta, it will be Petal. Petal, yes. And sepal, very good. Yes, exactly, Anil. So, sepal, petal, pistil, and stamen, these are the four main parts of a flower. So, we will study about these four main parts of the flower in detail. So, let us see what we will learn today in today's session. Mainly, we will study about the detailed parts of the flower. ये जो four parts आपने बोला है ना, Anil, in the chat box, we will study each of them in detail, and definitely I'll also tell you what are the different classification, how can we classify all of them. No issue Abhay, no need to be sorry. You are present today ना, आज तो last तक रहेंगे, है ना? चलो. So Today we will study about the vegetative parts and the reproductive parts. These are the two main classification of the different parts of the flower. Then we will study about the other different parts which are associated with the flower, but they do not take part directly in the reproduction process, right? So we will study all of them, and at the last we will study about what are the main functions of the flower. तो इतना हम फ्लावर के बारे में पढ़ रहे हैं तो लास्ट टाइम आई हैव ऑलरेडी सेड व्हाट इज द मेन इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ द फ्लावर व्हाई वी आर स्टडिंग सो मच अबाउट द फ्लावर व्हाट इज द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ द फ्लावर एनीबॉडी कैन यू टेल मी इन द चैट बॉक्स यस टेल मी एनी वन सिग्निफिकेंस और एनी वन इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ द फ्लावर क्यों हम पढ़ रहे हैं इस चैप्टर को अलग से फ्लावर को अलग से क्यों हम पढ़ रहे हैं व्हाट इज द मेन सिग्निफिकेंस और इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ द फ्लावर why we should know about the flower please tell me in the chat box anyone okay so we will study about all the other functions of the flower today chalo so let's now ask you one of the question if you know okay so do you know which one is the largest flower in the world and which one is the smallest flower in the world yes anybody let me see who can give me. Okay, Anil, yes, for pollination. Very good answer you have given. But also, this pollination is related to reproduction, है ना? So, flower is the main reproductive part of the plant, and that is why it is very much important to know about the flower. Otherwise, कैसे reproduction हो रहा है plant का? We will not be able to understand, right? Got it, na? Yeah, very good. Rafflesia, exactly. The largest flower in the world is Rafflesia arnoldi. Okay, so this is the flower which whose weight is 15 pounds. Can you imagine? Yes, and which is the smallest flower? It is Wolfia. Okay, Wolfia is the smallest flower. Its size is just like a grain of rice. Okay, can you imagine of just a grain of rice? That is the size of the smallest flower in the world, that is Wolfia, and the largest flower in the world is Rafflesia arnoldi. Okay, note it down in the copy. It's a new information. Okay, yes, very good. It is found in Indonesia. Exactly. Great, Anil. So let us now find out what are the detail of the different parts of the flower. So, as you already know, there are the main four parts of the flower. What are those main parts? One is the sepal. You can see the greenish part is the sepal. Just above that are the petals, the beautifully colored part, the petals of the flower, you already know. Then is the stamen. Stamen is the male part or the female part? Who can tell me? Let me see. Who can tell me stamen is the male part or a female part? And another part is the carpel. So carpel is a male part or a female part? Let me see. Yes, very good, Abhay. Yes, petals, sepals, these are the organs of the flower. Exactly. So the stamen consists of the two main parts, anther and filament, and the carpel, or we can also call it as the pistil, which consists of the stigma, style, and ovary. And within the ovary, the ovules are present. Exactly, Abhay. Yes. So the stamen is the male part, and pistil or the carpel is the female part. Abhay beta, a little bit different. You have written carpel is male, not beta. No beta, carpel is the female part and stamen is the male part. ठीक है? Yes, very good, Anil. You have given me the correct answer. Yes, so stamen also is known as the androecium, which is the male part, and carpel or pistil, which is also known as the gynaecium. Yesterday I told you, remember that gynaecium, wo gyne word is related to the female reproductive part, right? The gynecologist is the doctor of female reproductive organs. Okay, so similarly, the gynaecium will be the female part of the flower. Understood? Up to this much clear hai na? Now you are already familiar with the word with the structure of the flower. In the previous session we have already studied, and definitely we have studied about the four main organs, that is the sepal, petal, pistil and stamen. So we will study a little bit different parts of the flower in today's session, as well as the detail of these four parts. So I think you all are ready to know about all of them. Yes. Now coming to the vegetative part of a flower. Anybody, can you tell me what can be the vegetative part of the flower? Yes, what are the vegetative parts of the flower? So we can divide the flowering parts into two main parts. Okay, one is the vegetative and another one will be the reproductive. Fine. Now vegetative part of the flower will be the petals and sepals. Okay, so first will be the petals. Petals क्या है? Petals are the brightly colored, beautifully colored parts of the flower. Can you see that? These are the purple colored petals over here. It is showing the rose itself have a lot of varieties of color like saffron, yellow, red or dark red sometimes pink, baby pink, right? So the beautifully colored petals, these are the beautifully colored parts of the flowers are known as the petals. Okay? Now why are they so brightly colored? What do you think? किसी ना किसी काम पे तो वो आएगा ना ये brightly colored part of the flower. What is the main function of this brightly colored part? They attracts the insects, they attracts the various types of insects including butterfly, bees and all, and definitely the different small birds, so that they will be attracted with the towards the flower. They will come and sit on the flower, they'll have the nectar, and they will again go to the another flower and sit, and accordingly the pollination will take place. They will carry the pollen grains from one flower to another flower with the help of this. Okay, and that is why the bright colored part of the flower attracts them, and this attraction will help in the process of pollination. ठीक है ना? So the color of the petals varies from one plant to another. As you already know, the beautifully different types of flowers are there. They are brightly colored. Some of them are pale colored also. Very light, soothing colors are also there. So the petals help in the differentiation of one flower from the another. Very good, Anil. You have given the correct answer that it attracts the bees, butterflies, and to make the honey, okay, to do pollination, definitely, and whenever they will feed on the nectar, the honeybees feed on it, and they then go to the beehive. Now over there they vomit, okay, they do perform the various types of dance and then they vomit, and that vomiting of the honeybees actually are converted into the honey. Do you know this? Yes. Okay, so this is the main phenomena. That is a different part. We will study those in the other session, definitely. That is known as the apiculture. Okay, the culturing of the honeybees and making of the honey. Okay, the rearing of the honeybees and making of the honey. Okay, so this nectar and the beautifully colored petals attracts the different insects. ठीक है. Now coming to the sepals. Sepals क्या है? Petals के नीचे sepals रहते हैं. Yes. Okay, so देखो इधर in the picture you can see the flower, but they are having the greenish part, the greenish part under the flower, and these leaf like greenish parts are known as the sepals. So the sepals are what? They are green in color. Sometimes they perform the photosynthesis also. Okay, and what is their main function? Their main function is when the flower was not bloomed, means before blooming of the flower they were in the bud condition like this, and the whole sepals guard the whole flower, whatever other different flowering parts are present like the androecium, gynoecium and the petals. The sepals basically protect the all the other different parts of the flower. Okay, you didn't know about it? Yes, it's a very interesting thing, interesting phenomena. Okay, so this is all about the sepal. So the sepal कहाँ रहता है? Just beneath the petals, and they are mostly green in color most of the time. Different color का भी होता है, but mostly they are green in color and perform in the photosynthesis purpose. Okay, exactly. Very good. To give the mechanical support, exactly, Abhay, as well as to give the support or prevent the other parts of the flower from any other different types of external injury. ठीक है ना? Okay. Now some of the flower sepals are sometimes they are separated and some of them are fused. Based on this, we will divide the sepals into different types. We will come into that one later on. Now let us move on to the reproductive part of the flower. So I already have told you the vegetative parts में आ जाएगा sepals and petals, and reproductive parts में आ जाएगा what are the two stamens and carpels. ठीक है, तो हम अभी stamens and carpels के बारे में पढ़ेंगे. तो stamens are also together, they are known as the androecium. It is the male reproductive part of the flower, as you already know. So what are the main parts which are present within the stamen? Let me see who can tell me what are the two main parts of the stamen. Yes. Okay. So the different parts of the stamen are the anther and filament. Clear hai? So the anther and the filaments are together forming the whole stamen, and it is also together known as the androecium. Now anther kya hai? It is the yellowish part at the, and its structure is like a sac-like structure which is present at the top of the filament. Okay, and over there the different pollination, like the different processes takes place, like the formation of the pollen grains. Very good, Annesha. Yes, that is anther and filament. Very good. Yes, so the pollen grains are present. It is formed over there in the anther, as well as the storing of the pollen grain also takes place within the anther, right? So the filament is just the thread like structure which is giving a proper support to the anther. एंथर ऊपर में रहता है एंड फिलामेंट ऐसे रहता है नीच में. ओके, दैट इज द स्लेंडर थ्रेड लाइक स्ट्रक्चर, and the anther is very important. Why? Because within the anther the pollen grains are formed and stored, and these pollen grains are actually carrying the male gamete which will go and fuse with the female gamete, and fertilization will take place, and that is how the the reproduction process takes place in the flowering plants. Clear hen up to this much? Yes, I think that all of you have already subscribed our channel, and please do not forget to like, comment and share as you already do, right? Yes, the stigma, style and ovary, these are the three main things which are present in the gynoecium, right? Now let me show you the structure of the anther. ये है देखो anther. This is the uppermost part which is known as the anther, and this thread like structure is known as the filament. Fine. Now can you see there are two main chambers of the anther? है ना, बाहर से हम अगर देखेंगे तो दोनों लगेगा, but actually there are four main chambers of the anther where the pollen grains are 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so where the pollen grains are formed, and each of these chambers are known as the pollen sac. So each of these chambers are known as the pollen sac, within which the pollen grains are formed and the pollen grains are stored over there. Now, after some times, this pollen sacs will burst out and the pollen grains will be scattered over there. And who will carry those pollen grains? The various types of insects, birds, sometimes water and wind also. Those pollen grains will be transferred from one place to another, from one flower to another, from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or the different flower, and thus the pollination will happen. Okay, clear है ना up to this much? चलो, so if you have any sort of doubt, please ask me, as I have already shown you the structure of the stamen. This is the whole stamen having the anther and the filament, and this is just the anther having the four chambers, and within this chamber pollen grains are formed and stored. Fine. यस यस बेटा, हम वेक्टर्स नहीं कहते हैं, हम जनरली उसको कैरियर्स कहते हैं, राइट? हु कैरी द डिफरेंट पोलन ग्रेन्स. नाउ द anther, as we have already seen that these anthers are usually of two lobes. So बाहर से हम अगर देखेंगे तो दोनों लोब है. This one is one lobe and this one is another lobe, right? So these are the two lobes of anther. Next, each lobe has been again divided into two lobes which are known as the pollen sacs. So whenever the each of the lobe from outside, it seems to be like this. Okay, this is the anther, each of the lobe of the anther, and each of the lobe will if you see it through the cross section, you will come to know that It seems to be like the butterfly. Yes, so there are the four chambers are there. These are known as the pollen sac, and the pollen grains are formed within this. Like this, the pollen grains are formed and stored within this pollen sac. Clear है ना up to this much? Yes? Okay. Now, let's see these pollen grains. These pollen grains are present within the pollen sac, as I have already mentioned it to you. And when they are matured enough, what will happen? The pollen sac will rupture, it will burst. And what will happen? The pollen grains are liberated, it will be scattered over there. And these pollen grains will be carried by the different types of agents. We will call them as the agents, like the air, water, insects, birds, and so on. Those will be carried by the agents from one flower to another flower. Okay, and thus the pollination will happen. So the pollen grains are generally the powdered structure, the different powdered particles which are present on the anther. Clear enough to this much? Yes. Now let's move on to the different things of androecium, like the two different parts or the two different types of androecium. Okay, so sometimes we will see that the stamens may be free, or sometimes we will see that the stamens are joined in different ways. They are joined with each other. Now, according to that, we can divide the stamens into three main types. What are they? Monodelphous, didelphous, polydelphous. ठीक है, तो we will study what are these. Monodelphous मतलब like this, when all the stamens are joined together, we will call it as the monodelphous. Okay, so these are the monodelphous stamen. When all the filaments are joined together, only the anthers are free. Can you see over here? The filaments are joined over here. Okay, let me show you over here. The filaments are all bounded or joined together, but only the anthers are free. These anthers are free. Okay, so this type of stamens are known as the monodelphous. Hard name. Okay, mono matlab one, है ना, और delphus मतलब it is related to the how it is bounded or how it is arranged, how the stamens are arranged. ठीक है ना? Not hard beta. You will be able to remember if you just go through these names again and again. ठीक है? Chalo. So, where in which plants we will be able to see this monodelphous stamen? We will see them in China rose and cotton. Okay, so China rose और cotton में हम ये देख पाएंगे. So if you China rose is very common. If you there find any China rose in your home also, if there is a garden or in the surrounding, just try to see the flower, and you will find that these stamens are bounded, these filaments are all bounded together. ओके, सो ये डिसेक्शन में है, आपका डिसेक्शन में है इन हायर ग्रेड्स. फाइन. नाउ कमिंग टू द डायडेल्फस. डायडेल्फस में क्या होगा? डेफिनेटली द फिलामेंट्स आर यूनाइटेड इन टू बंडल्स. ओके, मोनोडेल्फस में एक ही बंडल थे. डायडेल्फस, डाई मतलब दो, टू. ओके, सो सेम, वेरी इजी टू रिमेम्बर. डायडेल्फस मतलब दोनों बंडल्स में वो एक साथ डिफरेंट फिलामेंट्स रहेंगे. Fine. Now, where can you see this diadelphus? You will see it in pea plant. Okay. Now, coming to the polyadelphus. Polyadelphus मतलब poly मतलब क्या है? Many, multiples, right? So, mono matlab one, di matlab two, and poly matlab more than two, multiples. So, when the filaments are united together in several groups, ऐसे दो या एक group में नहीं होगा, 3-4 groups में अगर वो pollen वो जो stamens या फिर filaments अगर bundled up हो जाएगा, then we will call those type of flowers as the polyadelphous flower. So over here one example is there, that is the bombax. Bombax, you can say this is a common name of the bombax is cotton plant. ठीक है? Now let us move on to the female part, that is the gynoecium. Now the gynoecium, as you already know, this is the gynoecium. Just look at the two picture. This is the stamen and this is the carpel. This is androecium. This one is the androecium having the anther and filament, and this one is the gynoecium having the stigma, style and ovary. Okay, now over here just look at the picture and tell me what are the differences. Over here you can see that the anther is there. Within the anther the pollen grains will be formed, and these pollen grains are needed to go towards the stigma. That is known as pollination. Now, after going to the stigma, they will form a pollen tube. It will go through the style and finally it will go inside the ovary. और ovary में कौन है? Ovules है. तो उधर जाने के बाद किसके साथ fuse होगा? Egg cells के साथ. The egg cells are present within the ovule, and the pollen nucleus will fuse with the egg cell nucleus, and then fertilization will take place. After that the ovules will become seeds और ovary will become fruit. तो तब क्या होगा? Flower से fruits बन जाएंगे. Right? So let us see what are the different parts of the gynoecium. As you already know, it is divided into three main parts. So what are the three main parts? Stigma, style and ovary. Okay, so the stigma is the uppermost part, then style, that is the very thin slender part, a neck like region, and जैसे जिराफ का neck like region रहता है ना, जैसे जिराफ का हेड मान लो ये, और दिस इज जिराफ का नेक, लॉन्ग लेग, नेक एंड बॉडी, सिमिलर टाइप का देखने में होता है ना. यस, सो दिस इज द ओवरी. ओके, ओवरी के अंदर ओव्यूज रहते हैं. So this is all about the gynoecium. Now in the gynoecium we will focus on each of the part. So first one is the stigma. The stigma, you can see this one is the stigma and these are the anther. Can you see the powdered pollen grains which are present in the anther? So these anthers, yes, stigma, style and ovary, very good Abhay. तो ये जो pollen grains है anther में, they have to go and stick with the stigma. Then only the pollen tube will form and other different processes, the different steps of reproduction will take place. Fine. The topmost part is the stigma. It is a knob-like part. Just look at this picture. This is the knob-like part. This one is the knob-like part. Can you see in this picture a knob-like part? Yes. It may be divided into two or more lobes. जैसे इधर we can see that one lobe, two lobe and three. Try. तीन लोब्स है इधर, तो ऐसे टू लोब्स या मोर देन टू लोब्स में ये होता है, डिवाइडेड होता है, फेदरी अपीयरेंस होता है. एंड ऑल्सो डू नॉट फॉरगेट टू रिमेंबर दैट इज मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम द स्टिग्मा आर स्टिकी. Why sticky? So that the pollen grains will come and stick with the stigma. ठीक है, ये sticky रहता है, so that the pollen grains will come and fall on the stigma and it will stick to the stigma. Okay, now it is covered with the hair like thing or the granular papilla. You can see over here the very small hair like structure. If you see the picture of the flower, you will be able to understand. इधर छोटा छोटा hair like structures रहता है जिसको हम papilli कहते हैं, and it serves as the landing place for the pollen grains. So the pollen grains will come and land on the stigma. This is the landing place. ठीक है ना? Up to this much clear? Okay. Now let's move on to the style. Just beneath the stigma, the long neck-like structure is known as the style. So the long tube-like slender stalk is which is connecting the stigma with the ovary. बीच में जो रहता है, the middle portion is known as the style. So you can see over here, this green portion is the whole carpel. So uppermost one is the stigma. This slender long neck is the style, and beneath that the bulge-like thing or the oval shaped structure is known as the ovary. Fine. So style का क्या है काम? It is just connecting the stigma to the ovary, and definitely the pollen tube will form through it. The pollen tube will form it will the pollen grains and will come and stick with the stigma, and the main pollen grain will form through the style, and then it will enter into the ovary. Clear hai na? Yes. Okay, so I guess that you have already got an idea about the stigma and the style. Yes, now let's move on to the ovary, the basal part, the last lowermost part of the carpel is known as the ovary. So this one is the ovary. देखो, these are the anthers. Anthers से कौन आ रहे हैं? Pollen grains आ रहे हैं. Pollen grains are coming and sticking with the stigma. Stigma से ये pollen tube बना रहे हैं. Only one pollen tube will be formed, and over here, this through the pollen tube the different pollen nucleus will move and it will enter into the ovary, and then ovary के अंदर क्या है? Ovule है. Ovule के अंदर क्या है? Egg cell है. तो ये egg cell के साथ ये pollen का nucleus it will fuse and fertilization will happen. Then what after the grain go in ovary? Okay, grains नहीं बेटा, pollen का nucleus will जाएगा. ठीक है? The pollen nucleus will go and it will fuse within it. तो after fusion क्या हो जाएगा? Zygote formation होगा. Understood? तो इधर दोनों तरीका का फ्यूजन होता है. एक ट्रिपल फ्यूजन होता है एंड अनदर एक के साथ जो फ्यूजन होता है उसको हम fertilization कहते हैं. तो that is why it is called double fertilization. You will study later on about this. Okay? तो ये एग के साथ जो पोलन का न्यूक्लियस फ्यूज होता है दैट इज नोन एज फर्टिलाइजेशन. ये फर्टिलाइजेशन होने के बाद क्या होगा? एम्ब्रियो बनेंगे एंड इट विल फॉर्म इनटू द सीड एंड फ्रूट्स ऑफ द थिंग. ओके, हाय याशिका, हाउ आर यू? Yes. So this is all about the different parts of the flower and the different parts of the carpel. So I hope that you have already understood about the different parts. First is the stigma, then is the style, and the last one is the ovary. Ovary के अंदर रहता है ovules, and ovules के अंदर रहता है eggs. And these eggs will be fused with the pollen nucleus, and that process is known as fertilization. अभी fertilization के बाद क्या होगा? Zygote formation होगा, and the other different parts of the flower will now dry up and they will fall off. Okay, सिर्फ कौन रह जाएंगे प्लांट्स के साथ? ओनली द ओवरी. नाउ दिस ओवरी विल बिकम द वेरी डिलीशियस लाइक द जूसी फ्रूट, और ओवरी के अंदर जो ओव्यूल्स है वो सीड बन जाएंगे. Understood? You like to eat fruits, na? Yes? Okay. So over here, just look at this picture and see there is a cushion-like structure, the swollen structure, which gives rise to the ovules, and this structure is known as the placenta. Okay, जैसे you already know that placenta is also another structure which is present within the human body after the fertilization and within the mother's womb जो हम कहते हैं, right? That placenta basically provide the nutrition to the baby, right? So similarly over here also after the zygote formation, the placenta is the outermost covering. It gives a cushion or a bed like structure so that there will be no injuries to the upcoming embryo. Fine. So the ductless reproductive gland that hold the lot of ovules, that is the ovary, and the placenta, this is the thing over here, and it is the part of the flower where the seed formation takes place. So seed कौन होगा? The ovules will become the future seed, and fruit कौन होगा? The ovary will become the fleshy delicious fruits. Up to this much clear hai? Any question? Yes, anybody, any question? Please write it in the chat box then. Okay, now let's move on to the other different parts of the flower. So we have already studied about the parts of the flower, that is the sepal, petal and rachim and gynoecium, right? Now over here these parts of the flowers are also known as the whorls. So these whorls are also known as the essential whorls and non-essential whorls. तो मैंने already बोल दिया कि essential whorls कौन सा होता है? जो directly reproduction process में part लेता है, that is the androecium and the gynoecium. But नॉन एसेंशियल वोल्स कौन होता है? लाइक those who do not take part directly in the reproduction process, and those are the sepals and petals. We will study about all these structures over here. So the vegetative or reproductive parts रहता है flowers का, and we will tell them like we will call them as the whorls of the flower. And these whorls are present, they are arranged in a proper manner in the flower. Okay, they are circular and they are distinguished from one another from top to bottom. आप अगर जाओगे फ्लावर्स का तो you will be able to understand और distinguish कि कौन सा कैलिक्स है, कौन सा कोरोला है, कौन सा एंड्रेशियम है, कौन सा गाइनेशियम है, like this. So very good, Abhay. These are non-essential. Yes, sepals and petals are non-essential. Exactly. So these are the different four whorls. That is the calyx, corolla, andrecium and gynoecium. ये andrecium और gynoecium का बहुत सारे नाम है. Like andrecium को हम stamen भी कह सकते हैं. Gynoecium को हम pistil या फिर carpel भी कह सकते हैं. ठीक है ना up to this much? Now let's move on to the calyx. Calyx, we already studied that calyx are the green colored structure which are present just beneath the petals. तो इसको हम sepals भी कहते हैं. The calyx are the outermost whorl, and when in the bud condition, the flowers are in the condition of the bud, then the whole calyx protect the total flower. Now, what are the main function of this calyx? The first main function of the calyx is it will protect the flower from any sort of mechanical injuries. Fine. And secondly, it will help in the desiccation. Okay, it will it will protect the flower from the desiccation. मतलब dry up हो जाने से वो रुकेंगे और या फिर protect करेंगे. So it will help to protect the flower from the mechanical injuries as well as the desiccation. ठीक है. Now some plants have colored sepals also. All the time these are not always that the sepals will be only green in color. जब green in color होता है तो definitely it will help in the process of photosynthesis. But जब green color का नहीं होगा, then we will call them as the petaloid. देखो ये तो असली पेटल नहीं है पर पेटल के नीचे रहता है तो इसलिए हम इसको petaloids कह सकते हैं when it is not green in color but some other different colors are there. Okay, no issue बेटा, no issue. Just see कि कितना different varieties का होता है अनिल. Okay, no issue. If you are in class grade, definitely it will be difficult for you to remember. But just as a story आप सुन लो और these are the new information you were getting from here है ना. आप आपके friend के साथ ये discuss भी कर सकते हो है ना. Yes. So this is all about the calyx. So this calyx can again be divided into two main types based on whether the sepals are free or the sepals are packed or united. अभी ये देखो, I'm drawing the sepals. So when the sepals are like this, free sepals, okay, just beneath the petals, the sepals are free, then we will call this type of calyx as the polysepalous. Okay, these are the polysepalous calyx. Now, if the calyx are fused, ऊपर थोड़ा थोड़ा ऐसे अगर होगा और नीचे पूरा fuse रहेंगे, then we will call this type of calyx as the gamosepalous. This is the gamosepalous and this one is the polysepalous. Yes, yes, you can discuss with your friend Aneli. Exactly. चलो तो समझ में आया ना which one is the polysepalous and which one is the gamosepalous. Gamosepalous मतलब fused रहेगा या फिर united रहेगा sepals. जब united रहता है these are gamosepalous और जब free रहता है free from each other and they are not depending or fused with each other, those are known as the polysepalous. Fine. Next, in many flowers the sepals fall off from the flowers before the flower opens और blooming के इससे पहले ही वो fall off कर जाते हैं. And this type of sepals are known as caducous. Okay, the sepals which fall off before the blooming of the flower, that is known as the caducous. Okay. Secondly, there are some sepals which fall off after fertilization. Just fertilization होने के बाद, zygote formation होने के बाद ही वो sepals dry up हो जाते हैं और fall हो जाते हैं. And that those sepals are known as deciduous sepals. Okay, देखो sepals का भी कितना different types होता. तो कैड्यूकस मतलब वो ब्लूमिंग ऑफ द फ्लावर के बाद ही सेपल्स जब फॉल ऑफ हो जाते हैं. एंड अनदर टाइप दैट इज द डेसिडियस, दैट मीन्स जस्ट आफ्टर फर्टिलाइजेशन द सेपल्स विल फॉल ऑफ फ्रॉम द flower. These are known as the deciduous. And the persistent sepals remain up to the fruiting stage. In other different cases, there are the different sepals which are known as the persistent sepals, which remain up to the fruit condition also. Okay, fruits तक भी रहता है. Fine. So these are all about the different types of sepals. Now let's move on to the corolla, that is the petals. So petals कैसे होता है? Definitely the different colored का होता है, brightly colored, which will is the name of a forest. Yes, deciduous is also name of the forest. Also very good, Anil. The deciduous forest and evergreen forest you have already studied. Deciduous का मतलब क्या है? जो एक सीजन में फॉल ऑफ हो जाते हैं. तो इधर भी तो सेपल का फॉल ऑफ हो जा रहा है ना, इसलिए इसको डेसिडियस सेपल्स कहते हैं. वेरी गुड. चलो, सो द कोरोला आर द पेटल्स एंड दे आर ब्राइटली कलर्ड. उसका मेन फंक्शन क्या है? I have already said, first is to attract the pollinators. जो pollination करेगा, the different types of insects, they will attract the insects so that the pollination will take place properly. And secondly, they will protect the reproductive parts of the flower. Okay, so इसके अंदर जो एंड्रेशियम एंड गाइनेशियम है उसको ऐसे प्रोटेक्ट करके रखते हैं पेटल्स. Fine. Now the petals are brightly colored part. There are various scent and that scents will attract the animals for pollination. और ये जब ये जब calyx and corolla एक साथ रहता है, ये एक साथ collectively we call it as the perianth. Okay. So these are known as the perianth. Okay, now let's move on to the different forms of the corolla. The corolla are found in the different flowers. So what are these? Hi Supriya, how are you? So the different corolla which are present in the flowers seems to be like this. Polypetalous. Polypetalous regular or polypetalous irregular. Polypetalous मतलब जो different petals अलग से रहेंगे, they will not fuse with each other and they are separated. Can you see all these petals are separated from each other? These are when they are present side by side, we will call them as the regular polypetalous. And when these are irregular मतलब एक के ऊपर और एक आ जाते हैं and they are not arranged in a proper way. Hi Aishik, how are you? So they are known as the irregular. Hi Angel. Okay, so the polypetalous can again be divided into two main types. One is the regular when they are arranged in a proper manner, and another one is the irregular which are not arranged in a proper manner. They are overlapping with each other. Fine, but they are all separated from each other. But coming to the gamopetalous, gamopetalous का मतलब क्या है? When they are fused, you can see over here in the regular arrangement also sometimes they are fused. What is the third whole of the flower beta? Whole nahi hai, whole. Third whole is the androecium. Okay, so this is the regular and another one is the irregular matlab the gamopetalous which are forming the fused and tube like structure जैसे tuberose में रहता है, the tube like structure, and they are overlapping with each other one another. Okay, they are not arranged in a proper arrangement, not arranged in a proper way, they are just overlapping on one another. Fine. So this is all about the various types of corolla or the various types of petals. Fine. Okay. Hopefully you have understood all the things which we have studied till now. Now let us move on to the bract. तो bract क्या है? I have already mentioned in previous session also ki these are present in the pedicel. So the pedicel, that is the stalk, within the stalk there are sometimes a very small leaf like structures which comes out, and these leaf like structures are known as the bracts. And sometimes the bracts, just under the bracts there are very small hair like structures which are present, जिसको हम bracteoles कहते हैं. ठीक है. Now there are certain flowers जहाँ bracts रहता है, and also the different types of flowers जहाँ bract नहीं रहता है. Okay, so whenever the flowers are having the bract, they will be named as the bracteate flower. Okay, so these flowers are known as bracteate, and whenever the flower is without the bract, मतलब bract नहीं रहता, then we will call them as the ebracteate. Okay, so these bracts are not present in ebracteate flower. Up to this much clear है ना? Yes. Now coming to the bracts, may be green in color or sometimes they are also varieties of colors. I'll give you one example. Okay. So see over here the bougainvillea. That is a very common flower you have already seen. So do you think this bougainvillea का petals ऐसे pink color का या फिर purple color का होता है? No, they are mistaken for the petals, but these are actually not the petals. These are the large bracts. Okay, the large colorful bracts of the bougainvillea are purple in color, and the flower is just this much. The very small cylindrical flowers रहता है. Okay, these are the flowers. तो flowers में इसका petals white color का होता है, छोटा छोटा, एकदम छोटा देखो, and the other different floral parts are there. But these purple color or the pink color का जो भी bougainvillea आप देख रहे हो, white color का भी sometimes होता है, these are basically the bracts. These are not the petals. Understood? Yes. Okay, now coming to the nectaries. Nectar कहाँ form होता है? Nectar, as you already know, the sweet liquid or the sweet fragment which are present in the flower, upon which the different insects come and feed on. These are present. These are formed by the secretion of the different a special type of cell which are known as nectaries. So ये nectaries are the group of nectar secreting cells which are present in the base of the pistil. तो पिस्टिल मतलब जो कार्पस होता है, जब फीमेल पार्ट के एकदम बेस में रहता है नेक्टरीज, दैट इज द नेक्टर सिक्रीटिंग सेल्स, और ये नेक्टर सिक्रीटिंग सेल्स सिक्रीट द नेक्टर, और ये नेक्टर अट्रैक्ट करते हैं डिफरेंट इंसेक्ट्स को, सो दैट पॉलिनेशन विल टेक प्लेस. फाइन. Now coming to the special type of nectaries which is found in the nasturtium. Okay, nasturtium is a type of flower where the nectaries are very much prominent. Can you see the gland? These are the nectar. Sorry, the nectaries are very much prominent over here. Okay, now coming to the estivation. Please write it down. A very important question you get from here. What do you mean by estivation? Okay, estivation is nothing but just the arrangement of the sepals and petals. वो cross करके ऐसे spiral में arranged है या फिर one after another arranged है. So these are the different arrangements of the petals and sepals, and this arrangement is known as the estivation. Okay, how the different petals and sepals are arranged in the bud condition in the flower. The total arrangement is known as the estivation. Fine. Now let's move on to the last topic of today's session, that is the function of the flower. So what do you think? What can be the function of the flower? We have already mentioned a lot about the function. First of all, it is the gametophytes are developed in the flower, mainly the female gamete and the male gametes, which will help in the reproduction process. They are all developed in the flower. Secondly, without the flower, fertilization kahan hoga, right? So the fertilization takes place within the flower, and the flower can produce diaspore without fertilization. In certain plants, spores are formed. Okay. Next is the after fertilization, ovary of the flower will become fruits and the ovules will become the seed. These fruits which we eat, and the most important function है flower helps in the reproduction. So the flowering plant का male sexual reproduction होता है due to the flowers which are present, right? They help in the union of the male and female gametes by the process of fertilization. This is all about the different functions of the flower. कमिंग टू द नेक्स्ट वन, फ्लावर्स के अंदर क्या रहता है, नेक्टर. तो नेक्टर किसको अट्रैक्ट करेंगे, इंसेक्ट को. तो दैट इज व्हाई इट विल अट्रैक्ट द इंसेक्ट एंड हेल्प इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ पॉलिनेशन. दिस इज आल्सो अनदर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फंक्शन ऑफ फ्लावर. एंड पॉलिनेशन कैन बी ऑफ टू टाइप्स, दैट इज सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन, जहां in the same flower the pollination will take place from the anther to the stigma, or different flower of the same plant का भी अगर होगा, that is also the self pollination. But in case of cross pollination क्या होता है, the anther will be moving from the anther, the pollen grains will be moving from the anther to the stigma of the different flower of different plants. So these are the two main types of the pollination. Clear hai up to this much? Yes, any question? Okay, let me ask you questions now. Chalo. Tell me the first answer. What are the important parts of a flower? Very easy. Yes, we have already studied a lot about the flowers and the different parts of the flower, the different flowers ka different part. Yes, in detail we have studied about the parts of the flower. What are the main important parts? They are the sepal, petal, stamen and carpel, right? Very good. Okay, now coming to the second question, how do the flowers reproduce? Let me see who can give me this answer. How do the flowers reproduce? Yes, how the flowers are reproduced? Yes, very good, Anil. Yes, sepal, petal, stamen and pistil are the four parts of the flower. Now tell me, how do the flowers reproduce? Yes, they reproduce. First step is by pollination, then fertilization, and then the ovules will grow into seeds and the ovary will grow into fruits. After that, we will eat the fruit and plant the seeds in the soil. Then only the germination will take place and the new baby plant will come up, right? So the flowers reproduce by the process of pollination, then fertilization, and then germination. These are the main three steps. Coming to the next question, what are the reproductive parts of the flower? Yes, what are the reproductive parts of the flower? We have already mentioned about the vegetative part and the reproductive part. Let me see who can give me the correct answer. Yes, Anil, very good. It is pollination is the first step. Now, can you tell me the reproductive parts of the flower? These are the two main parts, that is the androecium and gynoecium, or we can say the stamen and the carpel. तो स्टेमिन के अंदर रहता है एंथर्स एंड फिलामेंट एंड कार्पेल के अंदर रहता है स्टिग्मा, स्टाइल एंड ओवरी. फाइन. यस. Okay, now let's move on to the fourth question. What are the vegetative part of the flower? Very good. Yes, Anil. Germination is the process when the baby plants become big plant. Nahi. When from the seeds the baby plants arises. Okay, the small baby plants are coming out from the seed. That is a process of germination. Okay. Yes, pistil and stamen are the reproductive part. And what are the vegetative parts? The vegetative parts are very good. They are sepals and petals. Okay. Or we can also say calyx and corolla. These are the two vegetative parts of the flower. Okay, so let's see what we have already studied today. We have studied about the flower, the different parts of the flower, that is the stamen having the filament and anther, then the sepals, then the petals, then the carpel or the pistil having the three parts, ovary, style and stigma, and finally the receptacle, that is the bowl-like structure upon which all the flowering parts are present. Right? Okay, let me see who have given me most of the answers correctly. So he will be the student of the session today. Yes, who is the student of the session? Yes, so today's student of the session. is Anil again. Yes, Anil Sargar. So clap for him. So thank you for being with us throughout the session and giving me the answers of all the question and giving me more information about the flowers. So thank you for being with us and we will again meet in the next session. So let me remind you what you have to do. Please subscribe our channel and press the bell icon so that you will never miss any of the update of the upcoming sessions. Okay, so all the update you will get and we will again meet in the other sessions. Okay, so tomorrow again we will meet in the same time. So stay with Swiflearn and learn with Swiflearn and do not forget to like, comment and share. So we will again meet tomorrow. Bye bye. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye bye.